inaugural Fuel Richer Cup Series. Huge crash on the point, straight into the line. Martinez to the line.
Welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina and the Charlotte Motor Speedway. My name is Kyle Heyer alongside Finian DeCuna and Dominic Mandil for the penultimate round of the 2019 Washington, D.C. Region SCCA iRacing League Series. And Finian, tonight we race at what is probably one of the most feared tracks on any schedule, the brand new Charlotte Roval. What makes this place so difficult?
Really, it's due to the blue turtles, quote-unquote, that have been dubbed here. The curbing here can be very aggressive, and for some of these cars, mainly the Mustang and the MX-5s, those curbs can really catch you off guard.
Yeah, this is a brand new layout for the Charlotte Roval, and you mentioned the curbs, Finian. This back straightaway, backstretch chicane here is not really typically used by other series. You see Louis Alessi jumping the curbs massively on the back straight. This is not a chicane that's typically used by club-level racers, but here in iRacing, there's no choice not to use it. So these guys have kind of been forced into their hands here a little bit. But the Kias and Mustangs are on track. Dominic, we saw, you know, typical fantastic racing at VIR last week for these guys. But other than the curbing, what challenges do drivers face at a Roval configuration of any racetrack?
So, Kyle, what you're going to have to focus on as a driver here is getting the oval correct, but also making sure the twisty parts with the chicanes are being maximized as well. And with the MX-5s here tonight, especially, you're going to see drafting that is so crucial to how to perform. And all these drivers are going to have to make sure they're getting clean runs off of every corner, and that's what's going to give them the best possible run onto these banked areas, and then when they go back onto the infield. So look for everybody to pair up as best they can here in qualifying.
Finian, I hesitate to say this, but I guess it really is like this. It's kind of like driving in a tunnel around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a little bit claustrophobic around here. And you and I have raced many laps on this racetrack, but is there, I'm going to exclude the backstretch chicane for 2 seconds, but what do you think is the most challenging corner to get speed out of in one of these club level cars?
I think probably one of the most challenging corners is, that's actually a tough question. I would say potentially that backstretch chicane. Coming out of it, if you can definitely take it very easy through there, but I mean, if you want to get the maximum amount of speed and momentum out of that corner, you got to pretty much go as straight as possible through that chicane. That means using a lot of the curbing, and some guys are going to be more aggressive than others, and that could lead to some guys making more mistakes than others. I think that's probably going to be one of the tough spots to really gain speed out of these cars.
Christopher Lapras in the 04 Mustang that we're taking a look at right now, he's been successful. He's got a couple wins under his belt this season. But Chip Disharoon's back in the number 75 car. He's out on track as well. And Finian, what can Chip do to get around Christopher? Where's the best overtaking place around this racetrack?
I think definitely that front stretch chicane's got to be one of the primary ones. We've seen a lot of people being able to build up runs through NASCAR turn 3 and 4 and build up a run there. Also, the second turn, no, actually, that would be the third turn in the infield road course, heading into the infield back straightaway. I guess I don't know memorize the turn numbers here. So
there's 17 of them. They're all over the place, but
yeah. So I think those are going to be probably some of your primary passing spots.
Dave Fitzgerald, the number 91, he's sitting in P3 right now in the Mustang category. And if you're new to the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA, let's take a look at our class structure for tonight. TCR has the Kia Optima, a 375 horsepower, 2-liter turbo engine, 3,000 pounds, and it's front-wheel drive. Big bore. The Mustangs, 325 horsepower from a 4.6-liter V8 motor. The heavyweights of the classes, 3,600 pounds, rear-wheel drive, and the GMX5 category with the Global Mazda MX5, 155 horsepower, inline 4, 2,000 pounds. They dance like fairies around this place. They're probably going to have the least trouble, Vinian, but what can the Kias do with those front-wheel drive layouts, and how do they navigate corner or tracks with such tight radii like the Charlotte Roval?
Well, I think it's really where you gotta drive point and shoot with these cars. Really, on most tracks, you can get away with charging the corners a bit here, but I think just due to the fact of how tight the nature of this track is, especially in the infield part, because it almost is like a street circuit considering the walls are so close, you're gonna really have to maximize the corner exit over corner entry, and that's really where you're gonna make that time.
We look from high up above, and you can see the sun is setting here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Dominic, this is going to be, I believe, our first day-to-night race this season, and that presents a whole new challenge in terms of conditions changing. Right now, it's pretty cool out there, 64 degrees in the air, 65 degrees on the track. But how do the changing conditions affect a driver's ability to lap a course like this?
So, Carl, one of the biggest things is that the vision, especially once that sun starts going down, it gets more in your eyes, and you're having to adjust where you're looking and making sure that, you know, the glares and everything that are coming off your windshield, that you're coping with that as best you can. But also with your equipment, you're gonna, things start to cool off pretty quickly, so make sure that the, you know, one of the things you have an advantage with is being able to run your tires, I think, a little bit longer because of the fact that you're not having to deal with them getting really hot. And then here, one of the things you're gonna have to also be concerned about is going over those curves, especially starts to get a little bit cooler and the track gets cold. You're gonna have to really start searching for a little more grip out of your tires. So it's definitely gonna present a challenge here, as they're gonna be feeling a moderately warm track to cooling track as the night goes on.
We're right on board now with DJ Alessandrini leading the point standings by an enormous margin here, but now he's just worked his way through turn 1, now turn 2. It looks like he's in a bail on this lap, but I do want to try to find someone that has just started a lap. How about Francois Brou in the 69 car? Down through turns 1 and 2, and then through turns 3 and 4, a double right-hander here. And this is kind of tiptoeing on the edge of the balance, get all the way down to the curb, accelerate onto the little back straightaway in here, run out wide over the edge of the blue line, and it turns 5 and 6, another dual right-hander that you have to get on the brakes, tiptoe down through the gears, get right up against that wall before you get to turn 7 and 8, which will lead you on to NASCAR turn 1, which is the big high banks here at Charlotte.
Yeah, notice too, as Francois Brou went through the beginning part of the infield section, notice how he got right up to the curbing, to the turtles, but didn't use them. He actually stayed just away from them enough, and I think he did that to make sure the car didn't go out wide.
Through 9 and 10, which is NASCAR 1 and 2, down into 11, 12, 13, and 14. Huge jump over the curbs, and that's exactly what we're talking about. You don't want to do that tonight, and Brou takes a wild tumble at the end of the chicane and doesn't get through a lap, and we're going to see more than one person do this tonight.
Yeah, that was a nasty wreck there that we caught him tumbling end over end. And yeah, you know, that, like you said, perfect example of what we don't want to see, that these guys don't want to do. Again, that's the risk of running with the curbing and taking advantage of it.
Yeah, we're going to take another look at the replay here, and look, everything looks all calm, cool, and collected, and he gets this blue sausage curb on corner exit, and those are really meant as an anti-cut measure. Basically, they'll try to keep you from cutting the course by putting those tall curbs there, and if you get too much of them, you'll hit the floor, and wow. I'll give him a 10 for airtime there. Bounces off the wall and tumbles down the back straightaway. That car is destroyed, but that's okay in qualifying, but in the race, you're not going to want to be doing that.
Yeah, indeed. And also, well, you mentioned earlier that DJ Alessandrini is leading the points. Let's do a quick little points rundown here for all three classes. Alessandrini, as you said, was leading in the points. Ken Ausil is in second place. He's 22 points behind, and Darren Treacle is way out of it in third. Moving on to the big bore class in the Ford Mustangs, Christopher Lapras is leading by a huge margin with 93 points. Next, back to him is Forrest Landy with 58 points, and then Dave Fitzgerald in third, 52. And then moving on to the MX-5s, you got Paul Darling leading with 75 points, Dennis Barrett behind him with 60 points, and Khalil Nasirboff back in third with 45. Interesting note, though, in MX-5 is that Paul Darling or Dennis Barrett are not here tonight.
There's a lot of people missing tonight, Finian, and I know several of them have told us that they are down in Sebring, Florida for the Real World Sebring 12-hour race, so I know a lot of people are missing there.
And even also this year, too, the WEC doubleheader right after the 12 hours, I think only a few hours after they start there, I believe it's 1,000 kilometers or 10 hours, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's 1,000 kilometers, I think, which is a little bit less than 12 hours.
Yeah, so they're running that race right after. So if you're down at Sebring, you get a huge amount for your money. You get two 24-hour races, pretty much, two 12-hour races.
And a lot of these guys are not only race fans, but are also competitors. And I know I'll give you an example from last night in the I was about to say hashtag Grid Life. The Grid Life Mazda Cup that ran last night. Tom O'Gorman was missing because he's down practicing to race this weekend in Sebring in the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the Honda Civic that he won in a couple months ago at Daytona. So a couple people also missing for their real-world racing obligations, as well as Finian is competing tomorrow night in another league with Sage Karam, an ex-IndyCar driver, and Sage had to go down and do some testing or driving of some sort as well, down at, I think it was St. Pete, right?
Yeah, he was down there with the, I believe with the team or with some organization. I wasn't entirely sure of the deals on that. But actually, I just wanted you to quickly look back at Kyle Herbst's last time through the back chicane, and it was an interesting thing. I think it definitely shows you the front wheel prowess of these cars.
We'll take a look at it here. The replay of that bright yellow Kia Optima. Jumping the curb, slips, and big jump. Wow. And he managed to keep it, but the good thing about that front-wheel drive layout, if you get sideways, you can just pound that throttle to the floor, and it'll straighten itself right back out.
And I think that's going to be a big advantage for these guys coming back through there. If it was a rear-wheel drive car, he would have gone straight around. But with the front-wheel drive, he was able to keep the nose planted straight while the back end came out, but the power comes from the front wheel, so he was able to discharge on forward.
All right, in just a couple minutes, we're going to turn over the racetrack to the GMX5 category as the top two classes have made their qualifying runs, and we're going to let I think we had 7 Mazda MX-5s here tonight, and they're going to get their own racetrack to qualify on. And Dominic, those cars they like to draft, but a little bit different here with the chicanes and also the vision. You're going to lose your vision following another driver. How do the the MX-5s combat that problem heading into the backstraight chicane?
So, Kyle, one of the things we see with drafting throughout both iRacing and in the real world is that a lot of times when you're following very close behind somebody, you're going to want to get as close as you can to them, but once you get to those brake zones, it's important that you give them just a few car lengths. So back off just a bit, make sure that everyone is getting into that braking zone. So once you get there, you're creating a little bit of compression, but once you get to corner out, everyone's able to accelerate and you're able to keep that path relatively close. And here with the chicanes, I think it's going to be important that everyone stays off the curves, because if one of the cars were to hit a curb, it would possibly send one of them out of the line and basically ruin the effect of that draft. So it's going to be important for them to stay smooth through the chicanes with the draft.
All right, we're seeing a lot of the MX-5s pulling out of pit lane. Again, if you're not familiar with the class structure again tonight, the gold are the Kias, the blue are the Mustangs, and the red are the MX-5s. And the MX-5s have not laid down lap times yet, but they're taking to the track Charles Boley in the number 63 car. Bright purple paint on board that thing. Mark Wood in the 41, Tyler Stewart in the 13, and the 461 of Richard DeMarco, the flex tape livery on that car this week. And hopefully we don't have to say the famous line, that's a lot of damage.
I think we're going to have to at some point tonight. Hopefully it's not in his car. But yeah, after qualifying ended, how about for the lead in for the pole for the the Ford Mustang class, only separated by 0.010 of a second between Christopher Lapras and Chip Disharoon.
Yeah, a little bit bigger gap between DJ Alessandrini and Ken Hausil in Kia. That's 0.2 of a second separating them. But the MX-5s typically race the closest, and I'm curious to see how these guys qualify here tonight. Rich DeMarco all by himself right now, and there's a couple drivers. There's Tyler Stewart in the 13. Right behind him, not quite within drafting range, but right behind him, Charles Boley in the 63 is in that slipstream and can use the air pushed out of the way by that front car to his advantage on the straightaways here. A little bit of a clip on the curb on the left, but he'll continue and start reeling in that 13. What a beautiful sunset here. The golden glow of the sun over the racetrack. That's going to dissipate and turn on the lights here in just a couple minutes. We're getting closer, and you see 13 of Tyler Stewart misses the chicane there. That is a cut course penalty. If you actually miss that chicane, you have to come down to what is nearly a stop to clear the slowdown because you cut the corner. So drivers will have to also make sure that they don't miss the braking zone and miss any corners because it will hurt you.
Yeah, indeed. I think we're probably going to see a few of those tonight. Just due to the nature of that corner. And again, it's a big passing opportunity for a lot of guys, so they love to brake as late as possible, but sometimes the drivers just overshoot it by a little bit.
Riding on board Charles Boley, and we'll watch how smooth his hand movements are. This is a guy that's constantly improved all season and is sitting in a fantastic spot tonight to get a win. Michael Shea in the 78 is the only car quicker than him right now. We'll follow Boley as he exits the infield section. I wish we had a track map to show you, although it's not yet in our software because it's so new when you see Boley just get up into the wall out of turn 8, and that's going to let, I think that's the 78 car, Michael Shea, get on through. 9.5 minutes to go here in qualifying at the Charlotte Roval. Again, Taking a look at the back straightaway chicane that has claimed so many race cars, not only in NASCAR, but every other series we've seen here. Remember back to the Scars Ferrari Challenge All-Star race. There's a big crash on the back straight again. Tyler Stewart getting into the fence. But Finney, the Scars All-Star race that we both competed in, if we remember, I believe it was the GTE category where everyone crashed on the start. So the first couple laps, very important not to throw your car into the fence.
Yeah, but I think we should be fine here. We might see a few guys bin it, but for the most part, these guys are going slow enough where it shouldn't be that much of a problem, and they should have enough grip to work with.
Oh, wow. There goes the 78. Michael Shea, he gets up on his lid out of turn number 1, and probably an underrated corner here, Finney, in terms of its difficulty. That's a big curb there as well, and there's a really tight wall there off of turn 1. There's not a whole lot of runoff room, so if you get that wrong, it can hurt.
Yeah, you can go uphill for a bit at the beginning part of that corner, and then it goes into a pretty much blind left, so there's a wreck on the other side of that corner. You have absolutely no idea it's there until you get out of the corner. So that could potentially catch some people off guard here at the beginning of the race.
Rich DeMarco in the 461 got into the top of the board. Not much of a surprise there, huh, Finian? He's 1.5 seconds up the road. Actually, make that 3 seconds up the road from the next quickest car, Michael Shea.
Yeah, I think Shea's going to be hoping to get a faster lap in, but he's currently out on. He's currently trying to get back out on the track. So we'll see if he can improve. I hope he can improve because that's a big gap for Rich DeMarco.
How about Mark Wood in the 41? Hasn't got a lap time in yet. He's got a crinkle on that right front fender. Through the chicane, he goes up over the curb. Cleaner that time. We'll see if he can lay down a time. Khalil Latirboff in the 19 had trouble last week at VIR. Got together with Ken House Seal in a multi-class incident. But looking for redemption this week.
And Mark Wood's going to come across the line, and he's going to put in a minute 30.
That's
so
good.
He's 5 seconds off of Rich DeMarco's time.
Yeah, good enough for third right now. We still have 4 cars that have not taken times or put a time in yet. 7 minutes to go in qualifying here. And a little calmer than I expected. Again, we're missing a bunch of cars here tonight due to other obligations and real-world things that people got going on. But car count's lower tonight, and typically we expect a lot of carnage when it comes to the Charlotte Roval. I think we'll see less of that tonight because so many people are missing. But on the good side of things, that's going to give a couple new guys opportunities to win. Rich DeMarco in the 461 has a ton of pace right now in that flex tape car, so he might walk out of here with a victory.
And Khalil Latirboff just put in a 127.9. That moves him up into second place.
DeMarco still has a 6/10 of a second advantage over Latirboff, though. So that 461 looking the quickest right now.
That's actually 2.6 seconds.
Thank you. I was looking at the wrong interval. There's Alan Claffey in a Mustang that's between DeMarco and Latirboff.
Yeah, Claffey did not get a good time down. Hopefully he can improve on that pace during the race. But I'm interested in seeing how Latirboff can improve this effort. Even Michael Shea, too, as I believe he started a flying lap.
Working his way through the infield portion, and he's going to run wide and get into the fence out of turn 4, and he'll come to a stop and try again. Rich DeMarco through the chicane, gets in there cleanly, and again, I think the MX-5s will have the least trouble with the chicane. It's basically full throttle through there, and it takes a little bit of bravery to go through their flat foot, but it is possible if you balance the car just right. I know the Mustangs have to lift a little bit. The Kias definitely have to lift, but they can save the car better if they get sideways. But all right, Dominic, I do want to ask you expectations for this race, especially we'll change gears from the MX-5 category. How about Kia? Ken Houseel and DJ Alessandrini. Predictions on which one's going to win the battle tonight?
So I think it's going to be another scrap that we're going to want to keep a close eye on. Both of these drivers have, throughout our season, shown to be very competitive, not only with one another, but adapt quickly to the new car with the TRC category. And I think that, like we've seen, the car that follows behind is still going to be the one that will be able to take down those notes and be able to attack later on. I think it's going to really be the challenge on the leading driver to set the pace and sort of find all the nuances of this track that a lot of these drivers may or may not have tackled yet. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how the Kias get along here, especially with the turbo, as I think it will really start to switch to the ends of some of these straights, and they're going to have to manage that as they get on the binders to make those really tricky chicanes.
The air temp has fallen to 64. The track temp has fallen to match, Finian. So it's very cool out, as cool as it's actually allowed to get within the iRacing simulation. So that means a lot of grip, but it also means high speeds. So thankfully we won't see a huge change in the weather as the night falls, but you can see the sun is going down, Finian, and you know there's that awkward period before the lights are on that things get a little bit dark out there.
Yeah, indeed. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem. There's a decent amount of light that gets onto the track before it goes completely tonight, but it might catch these guys off a little bit off guard considering how dark it is for a few minutes.
And brand new pavement as well, so the shade is closer to black than it is gray, and obviously again this new layout much more difficult to drive than the old Charlotte Roval, which was kind of a hack job in the infield. They've definitely spruced it up. It looks absolutely phenomenal in terms of its fit and finish. You see this beautiful Bank of America bridge before you get down into turns 3 and 4, and we'll ride on top of that. There goes DeMarco underneath. So it's a very well put together racetrack, but it still is unique in its own way. There's not a lot of racetracks that are like it. I'd say very few are like it. I would equate this more to a street course than I would any road course. It's more like Belle Isle or St. Petersburg because of the walls being so close to the track. DeMarco still has pole by a decent margin. Charles Boley and Mark Wood have closed in. It's 9/10 of a second back to Charles Boley from pole right now. So still a decent-sized gap. I think DeMarco's sitting in a great spot, but always the potential for one little mistake to wrap up your car and send it into the fence here at the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, it looks like Mark Wood is done with his qualifying efforts here in the 41. He's on pit road. Kalina Natirbov is still running out on track. I believe he can get another lap or two in.
DeMarco still lapping, trying to increase his distance on P2. They've reeled him in quite a bit since the beginning of the session. But now he heads down into turn 16 and 17, that tight final chicane. Big, tall curbs there as well. Those aren't quite as treacherous as the backstretch chicane.
24.9.
And that's a big jump up. That will put the gap between first and second is 1.4 seconds now. And the lights are on here. You can see in the background, the lights have lit up Charlotte Motor Speedway. So that will help drivers, and the sun will continue to set and bring us into full veil of darkness around here. So we'll have 25 minutes around the Charlotte Roval tonight to determine the winners for the penultimate race in the 2019 DC Region SCCA iRacing League. It's been dominated by DJ Alessandrini in the Kias. He's dominated pretty much every series he's running on SimTV, and I don't expect a whole lot to change tonight. Pretty sure, Finian, he's well without a range to be beaten by Ken Househeel. So he's sitting pretty tonight, but Christopher Lapras and Rich DeMarco in great places to win their classes, although Chip Disharoon in the 75 Mustang sitting in a great spot as well.
Yeah, it looks like Mark Wood is back out on that track, and he should actually have enough time to get back to at least start a lap.
Yeah, he'll get another lap in here as long as he carries the speed around. All right, Finian, we kind of, I mean, as much as we say this stuff is kind of out of the hands of the drivers a little bit because of the track we're at, DJ and Ken are going to do their typical scrap, but what about Mustang? Do you think Chip Disharoon or Forrest Landy has the pace to overdo Christopher Lapras tonight, or do you think it's another light for the 0-4?
I think, considering how close it is in qualifying between Chip and even Forrest, you can throw him in there too. I think, and maybe even Talas Sadiq, they're all really close. They're all within 0.2 of a second of each other as far as times are concerned. So I think we might see a good scrap for the big bore class. They might have a good battle going on in this race.
Mark Wood is going to pull back down to pit lane. I think he's going to abandon that run. Michael Shea in the 78 still on a lap right now. We'll ride on board for a moment.
Yeah, and I think he really needs to pick up the pace here a little bit because he's currently about 3 seconds behind DeMarco. So he definitely has some time that he can gain, and we'll see if he can get this lap in, if he can improve.
A little bit of confidence is needed to go around here. It's not just a place that you can drive on skill alone. You have to have the confidence to throw the car in places where you don't think it'll stick. And I don't think Michael Shea is going to get another lap here. His time has just expired. Checkered flag waves, and Rich DeMarco is going to be your pole sitter as long as Shea doesn't outdo him, and he won't, a 127.8. So Michael Shea will not get pole. Rich DeMarco does in GMX5, and
yeah, no one else is on the track that could beat him, so DeMarco is going to keep pole.
Here's a look at your results for qualifying. DJ Alessandrini, pole sitter in TCR. Christopher Lapras, pole sitter in the big bore category. So both those drivers sitting in a great spot to start. Rich DeMarco on pole for GMX5. And Charles Boley got close, but no cigar for him in that number 63. But again, it all comes down to who can last the longest around this place with all the curbs and the walls and everything around here. So Michael Shea still out on the racetrack. Again, he's just waiting for the time to expire. This lap will not count for time as he was not at the start-finish line before the checkered flag waved. And Bob Shoemaker in the 55 didn't put a lap in, neither did Darren Treacle. They're both technically here, but neither of them put in times, where you have yet to see if they will actually join and compete in the race.
Yeah, from the looks of it, looks like Bob Shoemaker is not in. Shoemaker is not in the server, so he will not be joining us. Darren Treacle, however, will be.
Oh, that actually did count Michael Shea's lap time, or at least it recorded it. No, it didn't count it. It did record it though. A 1:26.8, which was an improvement, unfortunately, which actually would have put him in third place. So that stinks that he missed the start-finish line by just a couple seconds. Because that would have put him in a solid third place starting position, but left to start from P5, one row farther back. All right, qualifying complete here at the Charlotte Roval. It's time to go racing. 25 minutes around here for the second to last race of the 2019 spring season for the DC Region SCCA. A lot of talented drivers here tonight, but an uncertain result here as we're taking on one of the most difficult tracks in America at the moment. And the field is going to grid up and get ready for a pace lap, and I love how these cars grid here.
Yeah, dude, and also the angle from TV1 at the pace car looks absolutely beautiful.
It certainly does. And I have not been able to get the camera to work on the pace car, which is... Oh, no, that's not quite it, right? I've been trying to get the camera to work on the pace car for quite some time, and other people don't seem to have the problems I have, unfortunately. But it still looks beautiful, that new Porsche 911 GT3-based pace car. And look at that field, gridding up, about ready to take on the Charlotte Roval. This place is feared, it's respected, and it's definitely challenging. So the pace car is going to roll off here in a second. Tyler Stewart and Bob Shoemaker not going to grid here, as the field's going to roll off for one pace lap around this 2.2-mile track. Take a look at your starting lineup tonight on the front row. DJ Alessandrini and Ken Hausiel and their Kia Optimas. DJ leading the points. Ken Hausiel trying to track him down. The 199 and the 23 starting on row 1. In row 2, Francois Brou and Kyle Herbst in the number 89 bright yellow Kia Optima. They'll be starting alongside that number 69 of Brou, who has been horrible on luck this year, but trying to change that. Louis Alessi starting 5th alongside Christopher Lapras, who is the pole sitter for the Mustang category, getting a little bit of ground between him and the Kias in case something happens on the first lap. Chip Disharu and Forrest Landy starting behind him in 2nd and 3rd, and the rest of the starting order will scroll along the bottom of your screen. All right, Finian. I asked Dominic earlier, but what about you, Finian? What's your choice for who's going to win the Kia category tonight?
I think, you could easily pick DJ Alessandrini, but I think Ken Hausiel might have something here for Alessandrini. I think if anyone, he's got the pace that could potentially beat him. So I'm going to put my money on Ken Hausiel.
Working our way through turns 5 and 6 and heading to turns 7 and 8. That will spit the cars back out onto the oval section of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, originally constructed for use in NASCAR. But the road course has a long history here. It was first used way back in the 80s, I believe, by what was then GTP. And it was basically just the oval with the chicane on the back and front straightaway, which is pretty much what we have now with a little bit of a squiggly bit in the infield.
Yeah, they even used that same layout you're talking about. I think, what series was it? Some sports car. I think it was
the ALMS, I believe, wasn't it? No,
either ALMS or I think Pirelli. I think it was Pirelli.
It might have been Pirelli at the time, but I remember seeing a GT1 spec Corvette driving around. So
yeah. So, but now we got an actual road course on this track, and definitely amazing. It'll be really interesting. I doubt it would ever happen, but to see the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series come here.
I think a lot of people would disagree with you that this is a road course. I think a lot of people would say this is an abomination of a racetrack. It's definitely unique, and it's a challenge for sure, and you see Ken Hausiel jumping the curbs there on the pace lap. See the three classes separated on the back straightaway. There is the leaders for TCR. We'll head on back, take a look at the Mustang category. About 2, 4, 6, 8 strong, and then 7 or 6. Actually, I think we only have 5 MX-5s that are going to take the green flag here.
Yeah, one of them, Tyler Stewart, is down on pit road. He's going to start from the pits.
Interesting decision. All right, pace car is going to peel off here in a moment and leave DJ Alessandrini as the leader as we come to the start-finish line for the second to last race of the season. We go to Road Atlanta next week to conclude it, but we still have to make it through 25 minutes at Charlotte, and the green flag's going to fly. We're racing here at the Roval, and Alessandrini jumps out to a quick lead over Ken Hausiel, working down to turn 1.
Yeah, indeed. He got a fantastic start ahead of Ken Hausiel, but both these guys are already breaking away from the rest of the field.
No surprises there as we're waiting for Big Boar to get to the start-finish line, and here they are now, a launch off the line.
Lapras.
And
Lapras messed up the start there, rode the curbs to the wall, and here comes to the inside Chip Disharoon.
And he'll take that spot away side by side into turn 1 as we work our way down into the infield section. And Chip Disharoon takes the lead away. How about MX-5? Rich DeMarco off to a good start. Baboli alongside him as well. They're going to get up to speed here in just a moment and get down to turn 1. How about Khalil Latirbov taking a look to the inside of Boli down into turn 1?
Yeah, Latirbov trying to make it work, just can't get it done.
DJ Alessandrini and Ken Hausiel have exited the infield. They're heading onto the long back straightaway here before taking on the chicane for the first time. Does anyone make a mistake? Does visibility become an issue as we work our way down through here? Ken Hausiel gets in right behind Alessandrini. First time through. Everyone makes it through okay. Herbst gets a little bit of curb. Behind him, everyone gets through there without incidents the first lap through.
Yeah, Big Boar back there. Chip Disharoon still leading the rest of the Ford Mustang field. And Lapras has got to make up for that mistake he did on the start of the race.
Through the chicane for the first time for Big Boar. Does everyone get through here okay? Dave Fitzgerald hard over the curb, and the guy that was following him, that's Tala Sadiq, he gets through there all right as well. Chip Disharoon still continues to lead. Lapras made a mistake on the start. That's going to cost him dearly. It's hard to pass around here. You got to get really gutsy to make a move. But the Mustang still nose to tail 1, 2, and 3 as we conclude lap number 1. How about GMX5? They're still working their way towards the back straightaway, and DeMarco has almost a second lead right now. Actually, this is, this is the front straightaway now. They're coming back to the front straight chicane, and everyone gets through. Everyone has made it through the first lap okay. No crashes, no collisions. Let's check back in TCR. Alessandrini has a half a second lead over Hausiel. I wouldn't count Ken out just yet, though. He's going to have a draft on the back straight.
Yeah, and he's going to have a draft and had a better entry into the chicane than Alessandrini last time through, and it's going to be much of the same here. It makes up so much time.
He threw the car in there a little bit hard, though, and it's going to lose some ground to Alessandrini on corner exit. Again, he's kind of having to drive more reactionary because he can't see what's going on inside that car with that big Kia of DJ Alessandrini in front of him. Through the chicane for the second time. Louis Alessi in the 43.
Ooh,
he misses the chicane. And Darren Treacle has started the race. Let's take a quick look back. The 43 car just missed the chicane here, and he actually got a bump from Darren Treacle. So a little bit of contact there. How about back to GMX5? No changes here. Boli behind by 0.8 of a second, but keeping the 461 of Rich DeMarco in touch. He has not lost a whole lot of ground. Anyway, Jimmy Saffel and Tala Sadiq. Sadiq down pit lane here, Finney. I think he has an issue.
Yeah, these guys don't need to come down pit road, but I'm guessing he has some issue or maybe a penalty of some sorts. Can't really tell.
Let's find out. Let's take a quick look. Did he hit the curbs or something? Oh, he pulled off to the side, went to block, and then he enters the chicane. Does he hit the curbs too hard? No, don't really see why he came to pit road. I didn't find any issue, but he's now going to lose a lot of ground. Anyway, back up to TCR. Kyle Herbst keeping the front two in touch as Hausiel is back on DJ's bumper about 3.5, 4 tenths behind.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be one to watch. He's keeping pace with the leaders, hasn't entirely caught them, but if they make a mistake, he's in there to pick up the pieces.
Hausiel jumped that turtle big time, and that's what NASCAR calls them here, those blue sausage curbs. They call them turtles because they kind of look like a turtle shell, and they kind of react the same way as if you were to hit one. They launch that car up in the air. And Hausiel being very generous taking that curb tonight. And has a little bit of right front damage probably from clipping the bumper on one of those things.
And actually, out of the top 3, Kyle Herbst was the fastest car last lap through, so I think definitely keep an eye on the 89 car. He might have something for the leaders.
Disharoon and Lapras continue to run nose to tail. These guys are so evenly matched around here, but Lapras was the pole sitter and made a mistake on the opening lap and has yet to get back by Chip. So we might see a bumper get used here. It's again, we've talked about how difficult it is to pass, and Chip is sideways through turn 3. He's going to run out wide, and here comes the 0-4 of Lapras to the inside. He's got right front damage already. Gets on through, and he'll retake the lead in Big Bore.
Yeah, indeed he will. So Lapras back up to P1, Chip down a position, and is under attack now from Forrest Landy, who's up there. So 3-way battle for first.
Oh, Chip is spinning. Oh, he saves it.
Saved it.
But trying to hang on, he's lit up those rear tires, and we all know how hot those tires can get once you abuse them. Alessandrini and Hausiel for the lead. Oh, DJ's hard over the bumps in the final corner, and that's going to give Hausiel a great opportunity to get on by for the lead.
Yeah, down into turn 1. Hausiel taking a lot of curbs there, and I think he might have Alessandrini.
And he's going to eke ahead here, but that's going to put DJ on driver's right, which is where you want to be for the next section. Nose to tail, a little bit of contact as they work their way down through turn 4. Running out wide over the exit.
Side by side as they head through the middle part, and they're actually catching the MX-5 traffic, so they got to sort this out really soon.
Whoa.
Dooring each other again.
DJ a little bit aggressive into turn 6 and 7, but still going to run side by side. Hausiel's going to pull away now. He's got the advantage. Can DJ cross him over? Chip Disharoon fitting, he's down pit lane. Severe damage to the nose of that car. I think we might have seen him hit the wall again. Or get on a curb, and we'll take a quick look back and see if we can find it. Yes, it was down in the chicane. Here's another look.
And tough break for Disharoon. It's all gone wrong for him on this lap. Started the lap leading, and is now finding himself down on pit road trying to fix damage.
Finian, where did Ken Hausiel go? He's crashed in the chicane. Destroyed his car. And just like that, a lead. And that's going to give away the race for Ken Hausiel. Let's take another look. And he's going to hit the underbody of the car, and that's what did him in. A huge impact into the safer barrier in NASCAR Turn 3. And that's going to be basically the end of it for Ken Hausiel in terms of his competition tonight. He's going to have to come into pit road and fix that damage. That's going to give DJ Alessandrini the lead back, now working through lap traffic with Kyle Herbst a half a second behind.
Yeah, now Herbst has got a shot here of potentially getting the win. I think he might have. He's got the similar pace to Alessandrini.
3 wide.
Ooh, we see mixed traffic working through.
And Herbst has to tiptoe his way through here. He's being held up a little bit by the 3 of Talas Sadiq, but he'll get on through. Again, there's also Khalil Natirbov, the number 19 GMX5, who got through there. So that'll give Alessandrini a 1.1 second lead. How about Big Bore? Still half a second between Lapras and Landy, but last time through, Landy was a 10th quicker.
Yeah, Landy showing some good pace here in the second part of this race.
Through turns 3 and 4. And it's all about patience in the Mustangs. You don't want to get on power too early. You'll light up your rear tires and burn them off. Ken Hausiel back out on the racetrack after receiving a fast repair, I believe. That car looks repaired, and he's good to go, but he's 28 seconds behind the leader and basically has no shot of winning this race now after DJ and Kyle will continue to run up front without any incident. Lewis Alessi, the 43 crash, Finian.
I was just about to say, he's got a shot of getting Alessi and Treacle as they were 5 seconds up the road, but Alessi now out of the race.
Yeah, he had an issue. He already had damage from before in the number 43. I think he gets down here to the chicane, jumps the curbs again, and just couldn't get it rotated and impacts that tire barrier. That's going to be night over for Lewis until he gets a fast repair.
Yeah, it's the thing with the curbs. If you get a wrong bounce off of it, and the car just kind of go. And with Alessi's case, the car just kind of went straight instead of rotating, and just had no time to react to it, especially with the front wheel drive understeering. So, yeah, just tough break for him.
Alan Claffey in the number 39 Mustang. He is also out 1 lap down at the moment, down in pit lane, but the battle continues to rage on for the Big Bore lead. Lapras and Landy separated by a half a second. Landy was a 10th quicker yet again. I think he's better in the final half of the circuit, but the first half he seems to lose a little bit of ground to Lapras. And Lapras does have some right front damage. If we get another angle on this, you'll see that right front fender is kind of torn up. So that could be affecting his performance.
Yeah, and he had that from the start of the race. From lap 3, it looks like he got it on. And he's been dealing with that for quite a while, so that could potentially have been affecting his pace.
Kyle Herbst has actually tracked DJ Alessandrini back down here, Finney, and DJ's had to navigate lap traffic. And he's trying to get by Michael Shea in the 78 GMX5 right now, and that's going to give Kyle Herbst a great opportunity to reel back in that leading 191 Kia.
Yeah, and was able to, as Alessandrini was trying to get by Shea, that's allowed Herbst to get right back to him, and we'll see what the 89 can do.
Dominic, are you surprised that Ken House-Seal made a mistake this early in the race over those curbs, or is that just the nature of racing around this track?
Yeah, Kyle, I think that was a case of him pushing as hard as he could to keep up with the leaders and making a little bit of a mistake. And it's really tough once you get on those curbs to try to save the car because you've lost a lot of traction and now your tires are up in the air. So I think he did all he could to save the car, but now he... unfortunately.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Dominic, but Kyle Herbst, his night is over as well. Pancaked the tire barrier at the exit of the chicane. We were riding on board, and just like that, that's how it happens. Just one little mistake, and that can throw your entire race away. Here's another look at it.
Yeah, and it looks like he got the curbs on entry at the wrong angle. It sent the car straight, pretty much like Louis Alessi, and he went straight into the tire barriers and went end over end.
Yeah, he could not get the thing turned and smashed into the fence on corner exit, and that's going to make Kyle Herbst have to come on down to get service to that car. But it goes to show you that DJ, it's very easy for him to lose this race as well if he were to get into the wall, but so far no mistakes out of the 191.
Yeah, and I think from here on out, you can kind of take grab a drink or something, because he's got a 12-second lead over Francois Brou in the 69 car, so he can relax for the most part for the rest of this race, but not so much for Christopher Lapras and Forrest Landy.
Lapras' brakes are red hot down into the final chicane. We'll ride on board the right front suspension here. Oh, that's not going to work out for me. That camera's a little bit messed up, but we'll take my word for it that the brake rotors are glowing on that 04 car. Still a 0.7 of a second lead, but I think Landy's a little bit quicker, just struggling to get around him in the minimal passing zones here. You can really make a pass into either of, well, you can make a pass into the backstraight chicane if you can get someone else to back out before you, but it's not really a safe place to do it.
Yeah, the backstretch chicane is really playing a game of chicken as to who wants to go first. But yeah, last time through, looking at their last laps, Landy was a little bit faster, 18 thousandths of a second faster to be exact, over Lapras. So he's catching him a little bit. He's definitely not losing him, which is the key thing, though.
We're riding on board the roll bar of Landy as he tries to track down Lapras. And we're on the back straightaway again, heading towards that infamous Charlotte chicane, Calamity Corner, whatever you want to call it. There was a nickname for it that I can't quite remember, but it was a good one. I'm really upset that I can't remember what it was called because it was good.
I can't either.
Anyway, DJ Alessandrini's lead continues to grow. Rich DeMarco has a 2.4 second lead over Charles Boley. Let's check in on GMX5 right now. There's DeMarco in that red and yellow flex tape Miata. Contact in front of him. That's the 78 car of Michael Shea riding the wall, and he's going to head straight into the barriers, and he was already dead last in GMX5, but that's certainly not going to help. Let's take another look at it. He just got in the fence, and there was contact there after the initial strike on the wall with Rich DeMarco, so hopefully DeMarco's car isn't too damaged.
Yeah, from the looks of it, just DeMarco got a little bit of a tap, maybe a slight dent in the nose, but definitely could have been a lot worse for him. Yeah, Michael Shea, his car is pretty much done with that contact.
Heading back up to Big Bore, Lapras trying to get around the number 13 of Tyler Stewart, who's P5 in GMX5. That's going to slow Lapras down in a critical spot. Landy's going to have a fantastic run out of turn number 8 and into turn 9, and he's going to have the draft, and we'll see if he looks to the inside of Lapras or if he'll bide his time and wait.
Looks like he's trying to look to the outside of Lapras here. It's going to be hard to get a run on the outside of the corner, and yep, looks like he's going to back out.
Yeah, it's a risky place to make a move, and these Mustangs have a lot of torque, but it's hard to get an advantage on somebody else when they got the same amount of torque that you do. All right, now we're going to roll through the turns. I'm trying to think of what these would be, 14 and 15 through the final couple corners down into the chicane. And Landy, we'll see if he can...
Ooh, Charles Boley spun around in the infield. He was second in MX5.
And that's the inside of turn 4. And he was already sideways before he even got there. Let's go back a little bit farther and try to find where this happened. Just got the car off balance and hit the sausage curb there, and that's going to unsettle the car enough to spin it around. Should be no damage done, though.
Yeah, and he's still in second place, but he's completely lost the lead to Rich DeMarco now.
Riding on board leader Christopher Lapras, and Landy and him are still nose to tail. We're through the halfway point of this race, have about 10 minutes left to go. I think Lapras is under attack here. I do think Landy's going to get an opportunity to get around him, whether it happens naturally or with some lap traffic in the way. But don't forget, Dave Fitzgerald is in 3rd place, 10 seconds back if these two get together.
Yeah, it looks like these guys are definitely going to catch at least 2 MX-5s up the road from them, so there's 2 opportunities for Landy to try to catch up to Lapras again. And if he can catch them in the right spot, I think in the infield will probably be better. If he can catch them in the infield, he should be able to catch Lapras off guard.
And again, I think Landy's definitely quicker in the latter half of the course, which is better if you want to win this race, as that includes that final chicane, which is probably one of the best passing opportunities on the track. They're going to get around that lap car. It's the 41 of Mark Wood through the chicane. Oh, Landy overdrove a little bit, hops the curb. He's going to lose some ground here. Ken Ausil is back up to 3rd place. He's 26 seconds back, but he's going to end up on the podium after what was such a wild race earlier. Kyle Herbst in 4th, 6 seconds behind him.
Yeah, and Darren Treacle is off the track and has been for a decent amount of time too, so he's going to retire in 5th. He's going to retire 5th in class.
Oh, wow! One of the Mustangs took a massive curb hop right in front of Kyle Herbst. I think it was Tala Sadiq, and yes, it was. Let's go back and take a look. This is what we're talking about, folks. This track is evil on the suspension. We'll ride on board the gyro cam so you can get a sense of how violently up in the air this car got. Wow, you can see the ground out of the right side or the left side of the car. We'll ride on board one more time. And from personal experience, after driving the Mustang around here, I can tell you that this track is very unforgiving to the Mustang suspension. Usually these cars love to curb hop, but not here. Even the slightest hit on one of those curbs can destroy your suspension and render your steering wheel off about 90 degrees.
Yeah, so I'm surprised that his car is handling as well as it is right now, considering how hard he took those curbs.
Dave Fitzgerald is running a very safe race right now. Not a scratch on that car in 3rd, so he can probably get a podium out of this if he continues as it is. Landy has dropped off the pace from Lapras. I wonder if he's got any suspension damage from his wild curb hop in the final corner. No changes up in TCR. Alessandrini, Brew, and Hausil are running 1, 2, and 3, but it's 18.2 seconds back from Alessandrini to Brew. And now it's just a waiting game here, Finney, and who's going to make more mistakes? Fitzgerald and Alessi, David Alessi, that is, getting a little bit closer. Of course, David in that beautiful Blue Angels livery on that number 34. You see the brakes glowing on that car, trying to chase down Fitzgerald. And he might have the pace to be able to do it.
Yeah, he might here in these closing stages. Everyone, for the most part, really spread out. There's not too many close battles between drivers. I think with a bunch of people having their own problems and trying to work through it, it's kind of spread out the field in this short race.
He's closed that gap on Fitzgerald from 2.4 down to 1.7 on this lap, so I wonder if Fitzgerald is having an issue. He seems like he's a bit off the pace right now, but we'll keep an eye on this battle. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retirements out of the 20 cars that started this race.
I know why Fitzgerald is having some problems. You should ride on board with him inside the car.
Oh, there goes that steering wheel. We talked about this. I'll turn off the ticker for a moment so you can take a look. That steering wheel, it's hard to see right now as we're making a left turn, but that steering wheel is not pointed straight.
Yeah, you can see him holding it about 15 degrees, maybe 10 degrees off to the left, which is definitely enough to upset your inputs to the car. You gotta be careful with how the car's handling. So I think that's where we're seeing him lose that time.
Yeah, Dominic, how hard is it to drive with a mangled suspension and steering setup? Is it something you get used to after a couple laps, or does it just become a continued annoyance?
Okay, I think the level of experience you have and the familiarity with your car is going to play a big role in that. A lot of drivers have a really exact setup that they like, and if they divvy from that, it really affects them. And then there's others who like to play with different suspension settings, and it's enjoyable for them to see what works best. So it's going to depend on the driver as to whether or not the changes with the suspension is going to have a big effect on how they perform.
Well, David Alessi seems to be tracking down Fitzgerald. Excuse me. Fitzgerald has been run down. It's now a 1.2 second gap. It was 2.4 a lap and a half ago. So that damaged steering is definitely affecting the 91.
Yeah, Alessi half a second faster than Fitzgerald. Ooh, and Alessi had a big spin, almost put it into the outside wall, was able to save it, but lost some time to Fitzgerald.
Yeah, he slid big time through the chicane. Now he's got to get around the 41 of Mark Wood. He's going to go wide to the outside. And he did lose a little bit of ground, but we'll see if he makes it back in the final chicane. And nice line through there, conservative. We have 5 minutes left in this race, about 4 laps. Next time DJ Alessandrini gets back around to the start-finish line. And I think David Alessi can smell the blood in the water from the Fitzgerald car.
Yeah, indeed, I think he can.
And speaking from experience, again, I drove this track and car combination at the beginning of 2019 Season 1 back in December and had an issue with the steering, and I think I ended up finishing 3rd or 4th that day, but I can tell you the steering around here, you can actually correct it by jumping a curb on the opposite side of the suspension. So if Dave had hit a curb with the left side of the car, he can go hit a curb with the right side of the car and try to bend the other arm in the other direction and try to straighten that steering out, but it comes with the risk of damaging your car further and increasing the issue.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to try to damage that car any further than it is, because he's got David Alessi really starting to breathe down his neck.
And from up above, that chicane looks like such a calm, cool, and collected swoop from the left to the right, but I can tell you inside the car, it is chaos. Fitzgerald is now getting completely run down. David Alessi has brought that gap down to 0.4 of a second. There, I think, is the... that's... What car is that? Is that the 69? That's Francois Brou. That's the second-place TCR car, and looks like Alessi has gotten into the rear bumper of him.
Yeah, indeed, and that's going to really hold up Alessi now. He lost all the time that he gained on Fitzgerald.
Right on board and take a look at the replay here, and this is multi-class frustration a little bit, but Brou went for the move and slipped on corner exit, and I think David Alessi tried to cross him over, but got some damage there. And all that progress he had is now gone. He almost runs wide, and Fitzgerald now under attack from that number 69 Kia.
Looks like Brou is going to make it on through. Actually, Canal Seal, he's chasing down Francois Brou. He's only 3 seconds behind, and he's made up a ton of time.
Lap time difference is pretty large. Canal Seal ran a 118.1 last time through. There's Fitzgerald on the apron. Francois Brou ran a 121.5, and I know it was a little bit of a slower lap because of the issue with Alessi, but that's still almost a 3-second difference. I think that 23 car is going to head on back for P2 here in a couple minutes. We'll ride on board Hal Seal's car for a moment. He's got front-end damage again, so he's been in the rear bumper of somebody or been in the wall again.
Whoa! Kyle Herbst just went over end in the chicane.
Yes, he's pirouetting on the back straightaway, and for the second time tonight, the chicane will claim Kyle Herbst's car. Let's take a look. All by himself here.
Yeah, it was pretty much a mirror image of what happened to him in qualifying.
Oh, yeah. Just, again, these Kias, they can take a lot of suspension input, but and they don't mind the curb so much, but if you hit the floor of the car on the curbing, which he did right there, he hits the floor, not the tire, on those blue turtles, it sends him up in the air and barrel rolls on the back straightaway, effectively taking him out of this one for good, which is a real shame. Anyway, battle for second, and Kia heating up a little bit. Seal tracked down 1.5 seconds behind Brou. He's got 2 laps to do it when they get back to the start-finish line.
If he can pace himself out here, he should have enough time to do it. And it depends on how good Francois Brou is at defending. So this should be an interesting battle here for second.
An update on Chip Disharoon, Finian. He very slightly hit a curb, and that's what knocked the suspension out of alignment enough to hurt the performance of that car. And Seal, big jump. He almost spins down in NASCAR turn 3. He'll get it back on course, but these guys taking so many risks here in the closing laps of Charlotte. through the final chicane. It'll be 2 to go for Hauseal. He's got 2 laps to get to that number 69 car that's just up the road entering turn 1 right now. He's to the inside of Boley in the 63, who continues to run second. Rich DeMarco has a 21-second lead over that purple Miata. So again, our retirements list grows. I think it's down to 6 cars now, including Kyle Herbst.
Yeah, and Alessandrini's in the middle of NASCAR 1 and 2 with 30 seconds on the clock, so kind of close on time.
No, he'll get there. It's 28 seconds. He'll probably get to the line with 5 or 6 seconds remaining, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's really close. I mean, he could also, to secure it, he might let up here. We'll see.
He probably won't do that. But we'll see. 13 seconds left in the race. 12 seconds, 10 seconds. If he gets to the line before that counter ticks down, he's going to have 1 more lap to go with 5 seconds at the line. Good guess there, Kyle. He's going to take the white flag. So 1 more lap at Charlotte Motor Speedway at the Roval. He's got a 23-second advantage over Francois Brou. Where is Brou? He's over on the far side of the course with Hauseal trying to track him down. It's the second gap between those two as they come to the white flag.
Yeah, I'm sure Francois Brou would have loved for Alessandrini to just slam on the brakes there for those last few seconds, but Hauseal's got another chance to get back at Francois Brou as they take the white flag.
Coming down to turn 1, flipping the curbs. Hauseal's got to be super aggressive. He's running out of opportunities to get back around the 69 car. No other battles to report on other than 5th place in Big Bore. There's a battle between Jimmy Saffel and Tala Sadiq. Through 3 and 4, Brou getting run down by Hauseal. I think we're going to see an opportunity for Hauseal to get by.
Yeah, I think we will here. It's just a matter of if Brou doesn't make a mistake, but they're catching Forrest Landy up ahead. So depending on where they catch him, this could help either car out.
They're going to get him on the straightaway section here, I think, Finian, so at least Brou will get by him here. This could complicate things for Hauseal. He gets into the fence out of turn 8.
He gets out of the fence, but it looks like it didn't entirely hurt him.
They have about half the racetrack left. 2 chicanes to navigate, as well as a back straightaway. Hauseal closing. He's basically going to have to flat-foot it through here to have a run into the final couple corners. Brou in second, Hauseal in third. Hauseal takes a huge gamble on the speed. He's going to be right alongside the 69 as they work their way through turns 14 and 15. With 1 chicane left, Hauseal is in the driver's right. He's in a perfect position to take this spot away.
Oh, here they come. Who's going to outbreak the other? Here they come into
Contact.
The final chicane, during each other, and I think Brou's going to miss it.
They're both going to run wide. Out of the final corner, they get to the line. Checkered flag waves. And who got there first? The question is, which of them had the bigger penalty? Brou is scored in second place right now, and I think he got it.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to give it to them. I'm actually surprised with that, because I thought they would have had to slow up a lot more, but I don't know. So looks like Brou's going to get second place over Ken Hauseal. Alessandrini came across the line in first. He's going to win the race. Christopher Lapras is going to win in the Big Bore class, and Rich DeMarco is going to win in MX5.
Well, a chaotic way to end the race. Let's go back and watch those final couple corners with Brou and Hauseal. What a battle that was. We're right on board Hauseal's car here, and right on board the nose. He just absolutely threw the car into here. Got a great run, just missed the curbs enough, and got a fantastic drive around the outside of the 69, which put him in passing position. And actually, Ken Hauseal has been scored in second as the results have been tallied here, Finian.
Oh, yeah, and there you see that Francois Brou got hit with a huge penalty. He got by about, I think, 50 seconds to his time. So there you see. I was actually curious why I didn't update, because I definitely would have thought that Francois Brou didn't slow down enough, but Hauseal was able to, and was able to avoid that penalty.
So Brou scored in third place. Ken Hauseal scored in second after a dramatic last lap pass. All right, here's your results. Let's take a look at them here. And Finian, you mentioned it. It was DJ Alessandrini on top again. Ken Hauseal, Francois Brou, an absolute brawl to the end. A 50-second penalty applied for cutting the course to the 69 car. Lapras wins Big Bore. Landy lost some ground after getting some damage. Fitzgerald comes home podium in Mustang. But how about Rich DeMarco in the 461 MX5 winning by a 24-second margin over Charles Boley and Khalil Natirboff there. Great drive by the 461. What a race. All right, well, we're going to let the results scroll through one more time, and then we'll take you to break momentarily. We'll be back with interviews to conclude tonight's stream. A wild race at the Roval claimed about 7 cars tonight after only starting with 20, so nearly half the field, but that's what we expected here. All right, we'll be back on break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with interviews. Welcome back live to Sim TV. We're here now with our big bore winner. And Chris, a great race you had there, but what a battle you had with Forrest Landy until he received some damage mid-race. Walk us through your night and how you kept yourself off the curbs and rolled yourself into victory lane.
Yeah, I really don't know. I put it in a wall on lap 1 and drove with a crooked car and crooked steering wheel the rest of the race. So it was just luck on my end. I'm not sure what happened to Forrest. We had pretty good pace, and then I think he got caught up in traffic a little bit, and that was that.
How do you approach a race like this? It's so different than a normal race like VIR or Watkins Glen. It's more like a street course here. Is it more of a survival race, or do you just attack it and charge it and just hope things don't go wrong?
No, I think not. This is probably my favorite course in iRacing, so I have 1,000,000 laps here. So I just attack it every lap.
All right, well, I also agree with you. It's one of my favorite tracks, too. It just a lot of people dislike it because it's so challenging. But, Chris, winning here in Big Bore, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you next week at Road Atlanta.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too. All right, next we're going to talk to Ken Ausil. There he is. Hey, Ken. What a race you had tonight. Unfortunately, received damage more than once due to the curbs and some other incidents. But an incredible brawl you had there with Francois Brou at the end. Walk us through that last couple laps.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. He got stuck behind some other cars, and I made tons of time on him, and I think the pressure got to him a little bit. But the finish, I don't know what really happened there. That was crazy. Went into the final chicane, and we both got a cut penalty, but apparently he didn't serve the cut penalty fast enough, and iRacing penalized him.
Yeah, it looks like that's what happened, Ken, but obviously the Roval, very challenging. We've seen a lot of people make mistakes. How difficult is it to run on the edge around here without getting yourself into trouble?
I'll say apparently very. I'll have to give a rip to Kyle Herbst. He crashed twice. I only crashed once, so that was I'll say interesting. I wasn't expecting to crash when I did. I'll say that.
All right, Ken. Well, second place regardless, a good rebound for you even with the smaller class sizes tonight. But P2, 27 seconds back from DJ after an interesting evening. Thanks for talking to us. We'll see you next week at Road Atlanta.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
No problem. You too. Now I'll talk to DJ Alessandrini. And DJ, we talked to you quite a bit around here, and no different tonight. Winning here after leading almost every single lap. A great battle with Ken Hausiel until he wadded up in the chicane. What'd you see from your point of view?
First, I just, rip Ken Hausiel and Kyle Herbst's ghost. I dedicate this win to them and his ghost. But man, this is just such a fun track. It's really challenging, and it's a nice exercise in controlled aggression, because you can send it through that backstretch chicane every time, but one of the times it's going to bite you. So you just kind of have to be really consistent on hitting your marks and making sure you don't grab that inside curve before you shoot back to the right. And it's very, very tricky, but rewarding when you get it right.
On the list of all the tracks we've been to this season, where does this one rank? Obviously, I think there's a lot of people that hate this place and a lot of people that love this place. So where is it for you?
I think it's so like I approach like tracks in different ways. Like some tracks are fun to race on because you're racing against other people, and then other tracks you're not really so much racing against people, you're kind of racing against the track. And I really, really enjoy those types of tracks. So I would rank this one on the top of the list. But track is like the same way that you aren't racing against people on Bathurst, you're racing against the track. I've always enjoyed those tracks.
Another win for DJ Alessandrini, a huge points lead heading into Road Atlanta. Any other closing statements before we send you off to next week, DJ?
No.
All right.
Let's do this.
We'll see you there. Have a good night.
All right, see you guys.
And I will talk to last but certainly not least, Rich DeMarco driving the number 461 MX-5. Rich, a great drive for you tonight. You had a ton of pace. What's it take to keep your car off the curbs here and come out victorious at the Charlotte Roval?
Takes a lot of puckering, that's for sure. The curves definitely will bite you in that bus stop, and I'm sure as you guys have witnessed and everyone has seen, wow, that was intense. So literally every time you go through there, it's just like, am I going to make it?
Well, you made it quite well. You had a great qualifying run, too. But talk to us a little bit about the multi-class interaction tonight. Fewer cars than we typically see, but obviously very tight and a lot of walls everywhere. So how was that navigating the Kias and the Mustangs?
It was a little tricky. Luckily, that most of the traffic that caught me was on the back straightaway, which was pleasant. The Miatas seemed to be able to hang with the Kias and the Mustangs and through the midsection, since there's a lot of little twisties. But once all you got on the big oval, man, they really came up on you in a hurry.
They came up on you in a hurry indeed, but successful night for you, Rich. Congratulations on a victory, and we'll see you next week at Road Atlanta. Hopefully you can get another one before the season's out. I
hope so, and thank you for having me, and I can't wait to see you guys next week.
All right. See you later, Rich.
All right, have a good night.
All right, now we're going to talk to, let's see, Josh. Josh, is it Rubenstein or Rubenstein?
It's Rubenstein.
Rubenstein. All right, well, welcome to SimTV and the DC Region SCCA iRacing League. Obviously, I understand that you are a coordinator for HPDE and track events program there, but just walk us through what you do and what you do every day for the DC Region SCCA.
Sure. So I'm the time trials coordinator for the WDCR region. So I run our time trial events, which take place in coordination with our high performance driving events this season. I've been doing this for about 2 years now. Yeah.
So obviously, I talked to Mark Liller of the DC Region SCCA last week at VIR about the role that esports have, and particularly iRacing has, in the progression of drivers, not just for fun, but also for practice. Where do you feel like esports and the iRacing simulation software fits in terms of driver training?
Yeah, I mean, esports is very important for driver training now. You know, time on track is always a limited resource. You know, most of us can't afford to be out at Summer Point or VIR every single weekend. So being able to drive those tracks virtually every single day and getting that time under your belt, it's super.
It's obviously quite a privilege to have such close connections with everyone in the SCCA, Josh, but a track like the Charlotte Roval, to my knowledge, I don't think it's on any schedule that I'm aware of for 2019. I could be wrong about that, at least what I know. But obviously it's an advantage not only for getting more laps, but what about for being able to make those mistakes? Like we saw a lot of mistakes tonight, drivers hitting the curbs on the back straightaway chicane. Safer place to do it and learn what not to do, or is it just a better training simulator to learn what to do?
I think it goes both ways, you know. What you lose sort of in the seat of the pants feel with doing simulation is it forces your other senses to be more attuned to the driving you're doing. So relying on not just, you know, what you feel, but also what you see, what you listen to, and being more observant to those.
All right, well, Josh, we want to give you a special thanks for coming out here tonight and being a part of this and talking to us as well, and hope things go great for you in the 2019 season.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right, so that will wrap up the interviews here tonight. Finian, and that was a great race we saw, especially between Ken and Francois at the end, but a little bit wild out there in terms of the damage we saw as well. Your mic is muted there, Finian. There you go.
I just noticed that too. I think definitely expected that race is pretty much what I expected. You know, a few guys getting into trouble here and there, catching people off guard, especially just how tricky this track is. Like you said, it pretty much drives like a street circuit, considering how tight it is in certain sections. But good race overall, especially at the end with Francois Brou and Ken Alcio.
Dominic, we saw a high attrition rate tonight at the Roval. Again, this track is very unique, but as we head to Road Atlanta next week, do you have anybody in mind who might surprise us next week after watching the wreck avoidance tonight? I'm looking at a guy like Forrest Landy coming out and get another victory, or who has your eye for next week?
So, Carl, for Road Atlanta, I think that, as you said, Forrest Landy will be one to watch, particularly with his history and ability in Mazdas, and that's a circuit that is another one where keeping a draft and having a pack to help you out is during qualifying and then the race is going to be very paramount. So a track that drivers who do the draft and the art of drafting the best, I think will really shine there, especially with a number of long straightaways and then that big elevation change that you have in the last corner coming back onto the front straight. It's going to be one where these drivers are really going to have to team up in order to get the best advantage they can and then be able to improve their chances of taking a victory.
All right, well, that will do it for tonight. Let's take a quick look at the advancement in time. This is what the track looked like about an hour ago, and here's what it looks like now. And it's dark around here. The lights are on. And it was a great race again tonight. We're going to be back for the season finale at Road Atlanta next week for the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA iRacing League. Tomorrow night, we have Scars Ferrari Challenge from Tsukuba over in Japan. So that's going to be a fun one. 3-race format there tomorrow night. Friday, we have the Virtual Racing League Xfinity Series at ISM Raceway. Saturday, Outsider Racing League from Auto Club Speedway. Sunday, we're back with the 3-Wide Driver Development Series at Talladega for their season finale. And Monday is the season finale for the 3-Wide Racing League Triple Crown Roval Cross event right here at the Charlotte Roval. And then Tuesday, Just Fuel next week at Monza. And Finian is going to be gone because he has to get his wisdom teeth removed. So he's not looking forward to that one. But I'll be in the booth with Jarrett Mackey next week and Tuesday for the Fuel Cup Series round number 6. So thanks for watching, and everyone have a fantastic night. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock p.m. for Scars Ferrari Challenge.